Well, it's 7 o'clock. It's time for the Bristol Selectboard meeting on August 8th, 2022. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us in the town hall and virtually. Let's go through our agenda for this evening. Review agenda for addition, removal, or adjustment of any items. Val, do we have any changes?
The June 12th meeting minutes were provided to the select board this morning. So if members feel prepared to take action on them, that you can add that to the agenda.
Okay. Select board members, do you wish to add that to our agenda?
I haven't read them yet, so, but
Okay.
it's fine to madam if you guys think they're okay.
Yeah, I read them. It looks good. Michelle had comments too that she forwarded. Darla, have you had a chance to look at them?
I looked at them briefly and I didn't have any changes.
Okay. Well, let's add them in under our select board minutes, meeting minutes item.
Now, there isn't one.
Oh, let's add in.
Yeah. It's usually takes place before the accounts payable.
Yeah, let's pop it right there.
Yeah.
Same as usual.
Okay.
Add that in there. Okay,
Here is a Hawaiian shirt.
excellent.
Brings a little color to the room.
Great. All right. So we've done call to order 2, overview of Zoom meeting operation and procedures, rules for participation. Everyone, please mute your microphones if you're on Zoom and be recognized by myself, the chair, if you wish to speak. 2, public forum, 5 minutes for anyone to discuss something that isn't on this evening's agenda.
Jim has his hand up.
Jim.
Hi, guys. Upper Notch Road. You guys do a great job grading it, but 2 or 3 days later, it's a horror, washboards galore. I think we have to go back to the old finer grade stone because this big stuff just doesn't do it. And it's very loose. So a lot of cars edging toward the edge of the road, not able to control them. Of course, they're going a little too fast too sometimes, but I think the problem is that large style rock we have. So maybe we can take care of that in the future, guys. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Eric, any response to that from Public Works Department?
Actually, I was planning on doing that this week.
Okay.
Buying some finer gravel from Rathburns and mixing with the stone.
Okay. All right, well, let's see if that makes a difference. Thanks, Jim, for bringing that to our attention.
Is that the area where we put clear stone to get rid of the mud?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Anyone else for public forum? Seeing none. Let's move on. Item 3, department head roundtable. Let's start with Sharon, clerk's office.
I'm here. Tomorrow is election day. Going to be a very long day. We've partially set up. I won't be able to set up anything else until the morning because everything has to stay in the vault. So biggest thing is tomorrow.
Okay. Did you find enough people?
Yes, I did. I did find Nate Bouvier came back today. I needed one more and he said he was available. So I've got enough people now.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nate Bouvier, and everyone else who's volunteering for tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes.
Anything else, Sharon?
No, that's the big thing this week.
That's been your life this week.
It will be my life, yes, because I'm also having Friday as a deadline for JPs to be on the November ballot, so it's elections all week.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. Any questions for Sharon this evening?
Sharon, I saw that in the paper looking for JPs. I thought that was always done during the March elections, like for select board and all that stuff.
No, that's when their term ends, but they're elected in November.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. Let's do Public Works Department. Eric.
We had the new person started today. Showed him around, showed him some paperwork that he has to do. Got him ready to grease in first thing in the morning, so that went good. Break him in right.
For those who don't know his name, Eric?
Colby Guile
Okay.
is the new person that came on board today.
Excellent.
Went up, we were gonna pick up our truck, our new truck today. So we went up there and I apparently forgot to add on the quote or the bid, some work lights. So I'm having them put some work lights on the truck while it's there rather than bring it here and then bring it back. So it should be done Thursday and we go pick it up Friday.
Great.
So other than that, we're just pretty much just plugging along.
Okay. Any questions for Eric this evening? All right. Thank you very much. Let's do Bruce, Police Department.
I'm not as loud as Eric. I'm very close. I bet you can be. I can be, but you may have noticed that our portable radios finally arrived. The portables that we're getting through the Homeland Security grant. So with our community policing, we've been focusing, like a lot of agencies, on de-escalation. We've been improving and learning quite a bit. So we've received a couple of notices this week, a phone call to the agencies that we work with when a person is in need of some kind of assistance. And they called to let us know that this particular person we've encountered a couple of times, and they expressed that they appreciated the compassion and empathy that they encountered with the police officer here in Bristol. And then one of our newer officers was dealing with a young person that at first was a little bit defiant. I don't know if that's the right word to use, or challenging, but after they realized that they were going to be treated the same way that the older Bristol police officer treated them, they were a lot more compliant and willing to have a discussion. So Addison County Field Days start today. So just want to remind people that please don't let your friends drive after they've been drinking. There have been accidents, fatalities for the state are up. So we really want to encourage people to be cautious. And lastly, I didn't get a chance to thank Porter Knight. She had a series of social justice informational meetings. I don't know, I think that's the proper way to describe them. They were very, very informative. They were great. I couldn't attend the last two because of scheduling issues, but I really appreciate that she took the initiative to do that. And I think it's important for our community to continue with those type of informational meetings. So, but that's all I have.
Great. That's terrific. And I know that the town received a grant that she was spearheading for the same kind of discussions at the town level for employees and for volunteers. So that sort of discussion will continue, which is great. Any questions for Bruce this evening? Super. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Let's look around here. We've got Meredith, Recreation Department.
Great, thank you. All right, so I'm on the agenda for this evening for a couple other things, but what I'll highlight for right now is we have movies in the park. August 18th is Clifford the Big Red Dog. And what's exciting is that we'll have the Cub Scouts do baked goods, and we're gonna have Winnie's Canine Legacy there with a few puppies that they have for adoption. So that'll be great. And then on August 21st, we have the Vermont Youth Orchestra at the Bristol Rec Pavilion, and that's at 4 p.m. And that's a really good event because it's just amazing to see all these youth playing, and it's a great family fun event. But that's it for right now, and I'll chat later in the agenda.
Fantastic. Any questions for Meredith? All right, let's continue Recreation Department. Taylor for the Hub.
Yeah, so the Hub has been plugging along this summer. Jackie, who's been the Hub assistant, has been supporting drop-in hours while I've been doing camps, which has been essential, incredible, so thankful. And our numbers are still up, not quite as high as last summer, but still above all of our other years, which is really exciting. We're seeing a lot of new faces and folks that seem really excited. We also recently got a really generous donation from Ursa Major skincare company over in Waterbury. They donated like 2 large boxes of skincare products, like face wash, moisturizer, toners, like all these different things that we're able, because at the hub we have a whole bunch of free self-care items and just hygiene items for the kids to take in the bathroom. So we're able to stock all of those things in the bathroom, which is really exciting. Because as an adult, those things are frankly kind of out of my budget. So it was really nice to be able to kind of like give the youth something that's kind of fancy and unusual. So it was a really generous donation from them. And we're just looking to the fall and getting excited for summer to start again, or not summer, for school to start again. And we're looking forward to kind of ramping up some new programming and starting some new projects. Oh, and I've talked to the rec club about this because I don't think it's on the agenda, but I've sent the email to Valerie. We're trying to put in a washer and dryer at the teen center. The rec club has given us the okay. We have a quote from the Superstore in Williston. For each one will be about $500. So each washer and dryer, each $500. And a quote from Jackman's to do the plumbing. And in that motion, they're also going to kind of redo all of the plumbing in the wall that we're going to put it in, because I was told that was done back in, around 2000, when there wasn't really any money to do it. So who knows what happened. It's been working great, but just some updating could be beneficial. But so we're really excited about the prospect of that. We have some money in our grants that can cover it. And it's really with the goal of providing this resource to youth and just who knows what's going on in their family life, but having this another resource that they can utilize at the hub. So if they need to wash their clothes because they don't have their family doesn't have any money to go to the laundromat, they don't have it at their house or their apartment. We're also trying to ramp up our free clothing that we offer to them. So just it provides this other infrastructure aspect to the hub that we're really excited about.
Right. If you haven't already, you might need to look at your electrical output, especially for a dryer, since it uses a different larger size plug and amperage than a normal unit. So that's something that an electrician might need to take a look at.
For sure. Yeah. Chuck Richardson, who does White Dog Construction is on our board, is all over all of those things, thankfully. But yeah, he's been pulling in all of his friends to make sure things happen.
That's great. Yep. Any questions for Taylor?
I'd just like to state that I think the washer and dryer is a great idea. There are a couple of other groups in town who've been talking about how they could support some of the homeless population and looking at doing that on their own. Not that I'm saying the hub should make that available to that. I'm just saying it's a need in our community for sure. So I appreciate you taking that on and seeing that.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Taylor. Let's move on to Anthony, Treasurer's Office.
Hello. So the main focus that I've been working on has been the town's tax rate for this coming year. In addition to that, I've also been working on a series of journal entries and just kind of taking a fine-tooth comb between the prior year and this year to make sure that all of our expenses are in the correct FY. So that's what I've been mainly focusing on since the last meeting. So then nothing else really jumping out as,
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Anthony. Any questions for Anthony? I have a question. Is the audit complete?
Yes, the audit is complete. We're just waiting for our finalized copy, I believe. I actually have a pre-audit meeting with the auditor for this coming audit on Thursday.
Okay.
So
we don't have copies available to us at the moment. It's almost there.
It's everything's been done on our end. We're just waiting for the finalization on theirs.
Okay. And that's when we get a gold leaf binder of it.
Yeah.
Ian, Eric's got a few more things on his select board, or excuse me, road foreman.
Sure. Let's go back to Eric, Public Works Department.
Yeah, so 3 things I forgot. One, the mower that we were gonna rent to do our boom mowing or roadside mowing, the tractor broke and they won't be able to get it fixed this year. So I reached out to a couple different alternatives. One is to hire somebody to come in and do it, and the other one is to rent another machine. And then also, the 2 guys, Brett and Colby, are gonna be starting their CDL class August 22nd. And that's Monday through Friday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And they're going to Barrie, so it's about an hour and 15-minute drive each way. So, just curious of what the board would like me to do, is to hire somebody to do it or rent another machine, seeing as how we're gonna be 2 guys down for that time period. What you guys' thoughts are.
You got any prices on
Yeah,
hiring somebody to come in?
yeah.
How do they compare to the renting?
I mean, we're talking just hundreds of dollars over what I was gonna rent a machine for. Rent the tractor for that broke.
So it's close to
Very-
close to what we were gonna pay, and we're gonna have an operator with it?
Yes, and that's for 40 hours for the week.
Seems like to me a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Seems-
I just wanted to make sure before I call them back.
Yep, I think that's the right direction to go in.
Then, let's see, so there's that one, and there's one more, and I forgot what that was now.
Well, you'll be here.
Yeah, if I remember, I'll call back, but them are the 2 big things, the mower and the 2 guys.
So is Kobe and Brett just gonna work, that's basically gonna be their day, start it?
Yeah, they'll come in at like 2:30, head out to the class, do the class, get back about 10:30 or so. So that'd be an 8-hour day, and they'll do Monday through Friday.
For just 1 week or 2 weeks?
Actually, no, Colby's is 6 weeks
Good boy.
for a Class A, and Brett is 4 weeks for an upgrade. So for 4 weeks, we'll be down 2 guys, and then we'll just be down 1 guy for the last 2 weeks.
Okay. Is the main thing that impacts, is it obviously the mowing, that's sort of separate because of the breakage? Anything else that impacts having 2 guys out for that amount of time?
Yeah, it'd be just slower getting work done.
Okay. All right, super. Thanks, Eric. Let's move on. Item 4, consent agenda. So we have 5 items here. I'll just read through all 5 and then we can discuss. Is that a good way to do it, Val? Okay, so
Yes, it is.
okay, I couldn't see if you were nodding.
Yeah.
So item 1, approval of request to close Fitch Avenue for Soapbox Derby on August 20th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And item 2 is set the FY 2023 tax rate. Item 3, approval of Jackman's fuel pre-buy offer of fuel for town operations for the period of September 1st, 2022 through April 30th, 2023. Item 4, approve and adopt updated Vermont Community Development Program, VCDP, municipal codes and policies as revised in February 2021. And item 5, approval of grant application authorization request for up to $30,000 for the Hub Teen Center to apply to the Vermont Health Department to prevent vaping of nicotine or cannabis by Bristol area youth. All right, so there's a few in there. Let's open up for discussion, I guess.
Well, actually, the way it works with a consent agenda is unless the items that get put on the consent agenda are likely to be non-controversial
Yep.
or routine. And so unless there are items that select board members want to actually discuss, then we would take that item off of the consent agenda and put it somewhere else in the regular business agenda and have the consent agenda be approved in a single motion.
Okay. Board, what are your thoughts on the 5 items? Any issues that you see?
I would like the specifics of the tax rate to be read like we normally do. I
Okay.
mean, I know if we can do that and still leave it here, that's fine, but it'd be nice if people knew what the rates were.
Okay. Do we want Anthony just to have a brief description of that? Or you?
It is also summarized in the TA report, and perhaps Anthony can just read that off
Sure.
on page 2.
Or you can do it, Val, if Anthony doesn't have it in front of
I'm
him.
here.
Okay.
I just didn't know, did you want me to read off what were your specific speaker?
It's just what all the rates are, the resident, non-resident, the
Oh, yeah, okay.
police district.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I've got one that follow up on Pickers is, of the $2.80 or the $2.49 19. That's the overall, that's with the educational tax rate in there too, correct?
Yes,
How much
that's
did,
correct.
to know what the town tax rate was, town municipal rate was last year versus this year? Did that go up? Okay.
No, the municipal tax rate went down almost over a cent.
If somebody can, the host can make me a co-host, I can share the screen.
Sharing the screen like that you mean, or? Okay, I didn't do something right. Uh-oh. Okay.
Boy.
I'm losing you guys now.
Okay, so stop sharing the screen.
Right.
Yeah, upper right. Stop that.
Whoever's here.
Okay, go to click participants.
Where are we? Participants, yeah.
All right, we're gonna sort this Zoom thing out. After this meeting, I'm gonna buy those new licenses for Val.
Okay.
Participants, and then over by Val's name, if you hover over the name, it'll say more, and just make her a co-host.
And also Jenny Austin while you're at it.
Okay, more.
And then Jenny Austin as well, since she'll need it later on.
Over
Just
and click on make.
Where's co-host?
Down.
While you're there.
Over, down, over.
Right. To the right, Joel.
Up,
Up.
one more, right there, click.
Okay, yes, do you want to make Valerie co-host?
Yeah.
Tell you.
And then
Okay.
you gotta go.
And then Jenny Austin. Thank you, Joe.
Hold on.
All right, so Val's gonna get that ready just to share the screen for the tax rate.
Jenny Austin, right there.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yep,
Yeah.
all right,
I'll do the same thing.
Make co-host.
yeah,
Yep.
perfect. Thank you,
Look at
Joe.
that.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get back to the tax rate. Are all set? Terrific. All right, so here's here's what we've got so far, and I don't know, Anthony, if you want to address any of the numbers that are on the screen.
So I guess I'll give a brief overview. There is a decrease in our taxes right now because one of the largest things is the grand list is higher. It's about $60,000 more, at least. I'd have to refer back. And then the state with education taxes decreased fairly significantly. The tax rate for homestead went down almost 6 cents. And then the state for non-residential went down over 7 cents. So that's why it appears that we have gone down overall, is because there's more to pull from. We also have- yeah.
Just Anthony, our spending that the 5 of us with Valerie's input have control over to spend, did we spend more this year than we did last year?
We spent, like, as of right now, having looked at it, and I've also discussed with Peter, our expenditures for last year are less than the gain we got on our grand list. So we've spent about roughly 50 thousand more, and we're at 60. So there is a gain there. So this is not necessarily us losing more of a base by lowering the tax, because there's more to pull from. We have more parcel IDs, and we have a larger amount of money to essentially tax.
And just to briefly say that the tax rate is based upon the dollars that voters approved at town meeting compared to the grand list. And so that's how the tax rate is derived. It has no connection to last year's expenditures or even this coming year's actual expenditures, which may have changed, or budgeted expenditures that may have changed since the voters, since town meeting. But this is what voters approved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as I've explained to Valerie as well, this is literally just straight numbers. This is pulled from the report, grand list. It's just straight numbers, no emotions, feelings, or thoughts, just the straight facts of the matter.
Okay. All right, terrific. Any other questions regarding our consent agenda? And do I have a motion?
I just want to read those rates.
Sure.
Can you back up, Valerie?
Oh, sure.
Try this. So the total homestead tax rate is $2.42, yeah.
Okay.
0.4219. The non-resident tax rate is $2.39.46.
And both are a decrease of more than 3%.
And then the police district tax rate is that 0.2953?
Also a decrease.
Yeah, so the homestead tax rate in the district is 2.7172, and the non-resident tax rate in the police district is 2.6899.
Okay.
Also a decrease of more than 2%.
So if you didn't add to your property value, your taxes might go down just a smidgen.
Mm-hmm.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. All those against, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, 7:28. Moving on, item 5, regular business. Number 1, Airport Drive Sidewalk Scoping Study Public Concerns Meeting with Jenny Austin of Du Bois King. Val.
Yeah, Jenny is tuned in through Zoom, and hopefully she's able to share her screen and walk us through her presentation.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
All righty. Good evening, Jenny. Thank you for joining us.
Can't see if she's muted or not.
She is muted.
Ah,
There we go. Sorry about that. I think I'd learned how to push the unmute button by now. So it looks like we've got a good turnout there, and it also looks like there's quite a bit on your list here. So we'll try and get through the slides quickly so that if folks have any input on the project, we can kind of dive right into that quickly. So this is the Bristol Airport Drive Sidewalk Scoping Study. This is the local concerns for that project, and this is through a grant that the town got through the RPC.
and this is Jenny Austin with Du Bois and King.
Yes, I'm sorry. So we were selected earlier this year to work on this project, kind of an overall sidewalk scoping project on Airport Drive. So these, we'll get into the next slides here, but this overall slide shows that the steps that we're following for this project. So project overview, the project goal for this project is to develop a scoping study report that identifies some alternatives for essentially sidewalks or some other, could be another sort of pedestrian improvement along Airport Drive. So essentially from the main road up to the high school. Obviously, there's a lot of destinations along that road that folks that have already talked about, the hub center and other places along there. As I mentioned, this is funded through the RPC. The town received a Transportation Planning Initiative grant for this project. So we've had the kickoff meeting earlier this year where we talked to the town and the RPC about this project, reviewed the scope. One of the big ones that we want to look at is the project area limits, make sure that we're on the same page with what the town wants to take a look at moving forward. And then the bulk of what we've been doing so far is taking a look at the existing conditions. So what's out there now. So essentially the red polygon there is the project area that we're looking at. So we're essentially looking to come up with some alternatives for sidewalks on either side of the project area. I won't list all these destinations as you folks know what's out there. So there's a lot of good destinations that the town's looking to connect to. And there's also the sidewalk that it will connect into on the main road there. So that'll give a good opportunity to provide access for pedestrians. And then on the north end, it'll also looking to connect to the path that's on the north sides of the rec fields, which goes over to Liberty Street, sort of tying into the town's overall focus of improving pedestrian mobility within the town. There's also a totally separate sidewalk project going on Munsell Ave. So hopefully this will help enhance the area for pedestrians. So when we went out, so a few things that we do for looking at the existing conditions. One's a site visit, basically kind of mapping what's out there. At this scoping level, it's really a big picture level to see what's out there. We don't do any topo survey, but we take notes of what's out there. One of the main things that we look for are potential constraints that might need to be considered when coming up with alternatives. So, taking some roadway width, some width between, there's some fences in the area. Those are some of the bigger constraints that we're dealing with for this project. The road and slope on both sides of the road is relatively flat. So that makes it a little bit easier in terms of tying into existing conditions. And we also, one of the things that we looked at for this project at the town's request during the request for proposal phase was looking at the right of way. And so we actually have a little bit more discussion that we'll be having with Valerie and or others from the town. When we do these projects, we do a sort of the standard right of way research that we do is looks back at the last 40 years records at the town. And when the surveyors took a look at that, they found that there wasn't any right-of-way information on terms of any sort of town ownership on Airport Drive. It was just showing up as part of the school parcel. There's a little bit of discussion about this at the kickoff meeting, and Valerie and I have been emailing a little bit about this, that there might be some information about that this was granted to the town at some point, a portion of it south of the gate. So that piece of the existing conditions, there's a little bit to see if we can find out, if there's any other information that we can find out about that. It really won't impact what we're doing and coming up with alternatives. It's really more really during the design phase is when you flush out the details in terms of right of way. But we do want to identify, potential impacts of where a sidewalk is located. So if there is a town right of way along the roadway, whether it's right up next to the road, or if we try and, just kind of thinking out of the box, say, since there's the parking in front of the I think it's some sort of a maintenance building of some sort at the school. You know, if we tried to go around that to the backside, then, you know, there would be more significant right-of-way impacts. Primarily, we're looking along the road, but try and think a little bit if there's anything, if there's something that wouldn't work on the east side, then, you know, might come up with a couple different alternatives. And typically, we'll be looking at either a curb sidewalk or a sidewalk that's separated by some sort of a buffer from the road. Sometimes we'll take a look at a potential multi-use path, which is essentially a wider path that's more geared towards pedestrians and bikers due to the constraints located nearby the road. We're anticipating at this time that it would be a sidewalk of some nature, but we'll be open for input at the end of this presentation to get folks' thoughts on what you'd like to see, which is the main purpose of this meeting. So this is here's a little more on existing conditions, you know, nearby fences and gates. Obviously, there's some utilities out there, parking along portions of the west side of the road, which could be a constraint on that side. You know, you could change it to parallel parking, you'd lose some parking, and you know, we'd want to talk to the school about if we were to make any sort of change to that degree, because that's you know, something that they may or may not be interested in. So the goal of today is essentially to introduce the project to the public and get inputs and thoughts on the project area. You know, if there's certain, obviously here there's the destination of the school on the north end, and then south of there, most of the destinations are on the east side of the road. You know, so if there's any thoughts on, you know, road preferences, sidewalk type preferences, anything, you know, any other sort of constraints that don't really show up on here that you think that need to be taken into consideration. And then following this meeting, we'll be coming up with a list of alternatives for the project. And once we have that list, we'll be sending those to Valerie as well as the RPC to kind of tweak our alternatives list and come up with a final list of alternatives. And then taking a big picture overview of them in terms of evaluations. These will just be really conceptual level cost estimates, coming up with an evaluation matrix, which is kind of a summary of pros and cons per se. It has items such as whether there's any utility impacts, and other, we don't have archaeological or historical reviews as part of this project, but just kind of taking a cursory preliminary review of trying to look at what sort of impacts the project would have for the various alternatives. And then we'll be presenting those at a alternatives presentation meeting, and that will be, I think Valerie and I talked about that being at the September 12th select board meeting, but we'll be finalizing that soon. And then the final piece of the project is it's sort of part of the scope for these projects is to present the project at the RPC TAC meeting, which is essentially will be pretty similar to the alternatives presentation meeting with a different audience. So that's sort of an overview of the project. Really what the goal of this is to get inputs and thought from the community on the project area. So I'll just kind of open it up to people if you have any questions, or if you have, you know, any sort of preferences or things that you think that should be evaluated that we didn't take a look at, then that should be taken into consideration. We can talk about that.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Peter or Joel, do you know anything about, Jenny spoke a little bit about earlier about the right of way. Do you have any knowledge of that?
All I know is just to the north of the turn into the rec park, there is a cement monument that's been there since Christ was an altar boy, right there in the fence line.
Okay.
And that's where I think Eric's not here anymore. That's where the town usually stops, picks up plow up at the gate, and I plowed the school for 29 years, and that's where I began, right at that cement monument there. there is a monument there,
Okay.
a survey marking.
Hmm.
That's where I always assumed Airport Drive ended.
Yeah, and I
why
believe,
this-
I don't know the specifics. You know, someone that's a licensed survey would know this better than I, in terms of, I believe there's some process that can be gone through that, you know, if the town, you know, shows that they've maintained it for, you know, a certain number of years, I believe there's some sort of
Dedication by
process.
acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, I think regardless of who owns the west side there, I don't think that will impact our, you know, the alternatives that we come up with. However, you know, if we do get some more concrete information, that will help in terms of filling out the evaluation matrix.
Are you looking at alternatives for the west side or just looking at the east side?
Yes, we will be looking at both sides. If there is that parking area that makes it difficult. And also we haven't yet, but with the school right there and with the right of way, sometime in the near future, we have some contacts at the school from Valerie, and we were going to be taking another look at, you know, whether something on the back side of that building might be feasible or not, in order to avoid that. You know, sometimes the parking area is pretty precious space right there, and I'm sure it gets utilized, and we don't want to introduce something that's going to be a safety concern with that wide area there. But essentially, we'll be taking a look at both sides of the road.
Okay.
Jenny, was there any thought of down by the gate, where the high school gate is the best way I can describe it is the kind of, when you've got a northbound and a southbound lane right at the gate headed south, is kind of put a little island there, because for driving school bus in that school district for 42 years, you're almost coming out to that gate as a T. And if there was more of a, when you're coming out of the parking lots and you make a right-handed turn, instead of a T, you're making more of a sweeping corner. Was there any thought of putting a gate there?
We hadn't got into that level of detail, but that's a good point with the room that the buses need to make that turning movement.
Okay. Yeah, it looks great so far. It's obviously an area that's much needed a sidewalk. I've walked up there many times with my kids, and so when you're walking down west and then your sidewalk just ends and then you're at the mercy of the drivers, you know, and it's a long stretch, and people tend to speed up a little bit as they're getting towards the school because it's a nice bit of concrete. So
Yeah, and then when you have to step off the pavement to avoid the vehicles, you're in troughs of dirt and mud and other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and definitely on the east side, we have the space there for a lot of that for a sidewalk, which is nice. Jenny, have you had comments from the school system superintendent's office or the school in terms of, I know they've been involved. Have they had any particular feedback?
We haven't yet. They were invited to the kickoff meeting. Apparently, I don't think they were able to attend, but we have the contact information from Valerie. So that is one thing that we want to be talking to them about and get their input as well.
Okay.
On the face of it, it would seem that a sidewalk on the east side would be the most practical and most used.
Well, you're not crossing those two traveled lanes either, the one into the parking lot, well, actually all three. The one out of the parking lot, the one into the parking lot, and the one up to the front of the school.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah,
Go on.
Go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
Yeah, that is the biggest. You know, obviously the destinations are on the east side. You know, if there's anything on the west side, then, you know, essentially pedestrians would kind of have to be at their mercy in terms of crossing the street. You know, you could theoretically funnel them to one crosswalk, but don't know if that would entirely be feasible for that location.
But also, Jenny, in the spring and summer, or spring and fall, from that maintenance garage, which used to be the old bus garage, from there north to the gate, all cars parked there for football games, track and field, those types of events. And people walking behind the cars are they're taking their life in their own hands, just walking and people backing out.
Yeah.
And I don't see the school giving that land up to go around that building because that's part of their track program and football area and all their athletic field.
Ron, still there?
No, he was.
One thing you might consider, just thinking about the Bristol Trail Network, you get to where the sidewalk ends, and then you're crossing Airport Drive to sort of go up the hill a little bit to begin that first bit of the high school trail. It would be nice to sort of consider having a crosswalk there to be able to facilitate that a little bit easier. At the moment, there's nothing. So, as people have said, you sort of take your life in your own hands when you're going across.
Where is that at?
So that's going to be literally like at the end of the sidewalk. You would just cross directly across to the field, and then make your way to that far corner of the parcel. As it starts to go down Stony Hill Drive, it's flat land, and then you're curving around and you follow the very end of the parcel of land, and that's where the trail is. And there are signs, they're small, but it's an opportunity for us to be able to have at that end of the sidewalk, be able to have a crosswalk going across, and then be able to put in some signage, some clearer signage for the trail network to allow people to see, oh, that's where we're going to start from.
I wonder if, because there's not an official sidewalk on the other side of the street for a crosswalk to connect to, I wonder if there's some other type of pattern that could be used. Well, so it would still be a visual presentation to motorists that, hey, there's something going on here, and perhaps a safe passage for pedestrians, but it's not an official crosswalk. And the area that Ian is referring to is right where the West Street sidewalk ends.
Yeah.
At the curve at the top of Stony Hill.
Well,
so it would seem like the first thing we got to do is make sure we have a right of way up through there before we can do anything. Otherwise, it's all on either the school or the Legion.
Right.
And I would think if we wanted to be, if we do end up having a right of way, I don't know how far out we are on the paving schedule for that road, but scooching the road to the west to give us enough room to get a safe sidewalk down through there might be the easier alternative than any of the others.
Okay.
Based on the right of way research, the path on the north side of the rec fields, it appears to be owned by the school, but there's an easement to the Bristol Rec Club. So it's not out of the question that you couldn't build something within the school right of way, but you would need, there would be some right of way process associated with that.
Related to that, Craig Scribner, former lister, last year or the year before, found information in the land records that suggested that the town did have an easement or right of way or owned up to the gate. Since then, he tried to find it the other day and didn't quite track it down. So, but he believes that there was something that demonstrated that there was an easement up to the gate.
Okay. Well, more research is in order, but I think, Peaker's suggestion is a good one, especially potentially moving the road to be able to accommodate.
Right.
Sounds like a good idea.
Interesting.
And with regard to that crosswalk, we have other areas in town that don't have an official other side to the crosswalk. The one by the Village Creamy Stand is a good example of that ends just in someone's driveway. So we do have areas that don't have proper landing paths that are official crosswalks. I wouldn't want to put something else in that confuses motorists or pedestrians and they don't know what it is. But also I think it's an opportunity to us to put a landing pad in there on the other side to make it safer for people to go to the trail. But obviously I think, discussions should continue on that to see what our options are. It'd be nice to be able to get a safer crossing over to be able to start the trail.
Yeah.
We were supposed to put a landing pad off of the end of Maple on the other side, and I don't think we ever did, because that's one of the criteria for having a crosswalk.
Right.
And reason we don't repaint the crosswalks at Bristol Works, because they cross into a parking lot and there's no there's nothing there.
Yeah, if that sidewalk, I'm not sure what the funding source was, but typically V-Trans doesn't like to, for that same reason, connect to something that's not connecting on the other side. So if that was a state-funded project, then that could very well be the reason why.
Eric's got a comment, Ian.
Okay, Eric.
The crosswalk there that you're talking about, Beaker, there, Valerie and I met with, State of Vermont Agency of, what was it, pedestrians or something like that. And they said we didn't have to put a block over there for that crosswalk. They okayed it. So you technically, I guess you can. The reason why we don't at Bristol Works is because where the cars park, they would have to give up, a parking place in order for the crosswalk to come onto. And that's not designated out to do that. That's why we haven't painted that.
Okay.
That's why we don't paint the one at the creamy stand.
Right, because they don't want to give up.
They don't want to give up a parking
spots
spot.
there either.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other question I have for that sidewalk is who's going to maintain the sidewalk?
Yeah, that would
If it goes in.
typically be the town unless there was some sort of agreement with the school.
But if we don't own after the gate, then that should be up to the school to maintain,
I agree with her.
not us.
Same way, reason we plow behind the businesses on Main Street.
Yeah.
That 12-foot strip down along the north end of the rec field is owned by the high school. And the town has a water line easement through the middle of the rec field. Comes in right about where it says West Pleasant Street. Right? Comes right down West Pleasant, heads right over to that fire hydrant. Just
Yeah, right about where the cursor is.
Right about where his cursor is, and it comes right across to the fire hydrant right there by the Little League field. There is a water line on an 8-inch main headed to the high school there.
With regard to the sidewalk question that Eric raised in terms of plowing, I mean, it seems like even if the sidewalk, if we're ending at the school gate, the sidewalk could potentially still be on town land, which would be where the ice rink is. That's ours. And so you'd only have a very small section of sidewalk that wouldn't belong to the town. If we're plowing from West Street start all the way up. I mean, I think if a sidewalk does go in there, I would just assume, Eric, that the town would be plowing it, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll have a better sidewalk plow by then. So maybe it'll be a moot point.
Go ahead, Eric.
Well, no, the only thing I was gonna say, if we're gonna plow that stretch all the way over to the other end, we might as well just turn right and head down by.
You don't want that, Eric.
By the trailer parks.
You don't want
Because
that.
if not, you're just gonna turn around and head right back, same way you came.
You want that, Eric. You don't want to go down that stretch. That is very hard to maintain.
Who plows that now? That stretch to
Part of the contract of the school.
That's the school.
okay.
But you also gotta remember too that that sidewalk is not gonna get maintained as well as the school sidewalks do. Because they dump the salt right on their sidewalks, of course, to bear them up for the kids. And they use straight salt, we don't.
Okay.
So there's gonna be a difference of care, I guess you'd say, or quality, well, not quality, but whatever.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
the town does it. The town does it differently to the school. And that's fine.
That's
Okay.
just- I mean, it's not a big deal to plow it. It's a straight shot, so it's not that big of an issue.
That 12-foot right of way down through there, I plowed it for 29 years, and there's 3 trailers on the end on the east side there, 2 or 3 feet over that 12. You sometimes can't get an 8-foot plow down through there. And this man to my right here has been down through there with a loader and had to clean it out. We've had to clean it out before over years. It's not as easy as our sidewalks in town to maintain that sidewalk.
Okay.
My still concern is around the gate area. I'd like to see, Jenny, when you get some more drawings in, how to deal with that. Because I see kids head into the school this way, and then they just cut across by the gate. No traffic coming or a bus coming, they just cut across, head for the 3rd parking lot, then into the 2nd parking lot, and then in. Will they walk all the way down to that corner? Or I'd be a betting man about 50-50.
Right, yeah.
Jenny, what's your delivery date for this?
The alternatives meeting,
No, for the final thing. What's your rough timeline?
for the whole project,
Yeah.
end of September, it needs to be done for the, in order to comply with the RPC funding.
Okay. I guess the one thing I was wondering with regard to time would be like looking at traffic patterns and walking patterns for students. And you might have a little bit of opportunity to do that since it's end of September, but not a great deal of time. But as Joel suggested, it would be nice to sort of have some of that information of how students and young people might use that area now, and how we could adjust to that potentially if we needed to.
Right, yeah.
I wonder if the school might have that information already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine, if we, without doing, a survey of folks, that the school probably has a pretty good idea of how people are getting there. But yeah, I agree that people will probably cut across before they get to the ends there, the closest, point A to point B sort of thing, rather than going to the end and then turning down the sidewalk.
Well, on the one hand, because there's no sidewalk there now, and it's very informal, there's nothing to prevent them from making that diagonal walk. There's no formal structure. There's no alternative for them to follow other than the rest of the road.
Yeah.
But if there was a sidewalk, maybe they'd be more motivated to finish that way.
You would hope.
I personally like to see the sidewalk, if it's possible, on the east side of all possible, and raised, but not a raised curb, raised sidewalk with a little bit of green space, then a curb. Because the curb, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, is just a place to put, when the sidewalk is like Main Street, the curb is just a place to put the plow from the street plow to put the sidewalk upon the curb. If that's the sidewalk, then it's all full of, the sidewalk plow can't win over the street plow. He's not big enough. He's trying to push all that snow back off the sidewalk. Am I correct in saying that, Eric?
Yeah, you fight between them both.
Like out here on West Street from Liberty up to Eddie Shepherd's. That snow, most of that goes right up on top of the sidewalk.
Yeah, since there's a little bit of space there between the fence and the road, typically we do like to include, especially since there's some limitations on the west side, a couple different alternatives. So, while we haven't sketched up the alternatives, that's, sort of my thought would be that we would have one of each, one with a curb and one without the curb.
Eric, is a curb preferable to you?
No, preferred not. Preferred it to be flush and have a green space in between is the best option. Well, in my opinion, is the best option. And if you could do a green space of say 4 feet to 5 feet between the road and the edge of the sidewalk, that would probably be enough space for the snow for the plow to put it, and also for the sidewalk plow to put it. And if we have to, we just have to go down and clean it up, maybe halfway through the season or so.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thanks.
Curb sidewalks also tend to be, more expensive, obviously the curb itself, but also typically it will introduce the need for some drainage structures along the route. So that's another consideration that we'll be looking into. That's really be more related to the cost estimate when we evaluate it, but still another item to consider.
Terrific. Any more questions for Jenny on this item? Okay. Thank you very much, Jenny.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Let's move on. 7:59. Item 2, Harvest Festival proposal on the Town Green, Recreation Department, Addison County Chamber of Commerce.
Great, thank you.
Meredith.
I think Maria and Phil are on here as well.
Yep.
So I sent in to Valerie an updated plan for the Bristol Harvest Fest. And so just to answer some of the questions, and step in, Maria, if you need to. The vendors, there's about 60 to 70 this year, so we're kind of back up into our norm. The food situation, if you notice, it's back on the Park Street. It seemed to work really well over there. So you'll notice that we kept that. And then it's open plan. So there's no like COVID restrictions for this year.
Okay.
And then music in the gazebo, and you can see where the chamber and the rec department will be. We are gonna not do the pie eating contest. That one's kind of done, but we will do coffee sack races, a couple of the old traditional style games for the Harvest Fest. And then also what's new is have the Pat Palmer doing the trolley from the rec field over to the town green. Some of the feedback that we got from last year was the parking situation, and people weren't able to park around that. So if we allow people to park at the Bristol Rec Club parking area, the trolley can bring them over to the town green. And it's a nice little ride.
Fantastic. How many vendors did you have last year?
55?
Maria,
We
can
had
you
limited
answer
it.
that specifically? I think it was around 55. Ian.
Okay. And what are you up to now? You're up to like 60?
Up to 70.
Oh, 70. Okay, great. Back in full swing.
Can folks see the map on the screen?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it looks excellent. Yeah, I don't have any issues with this. I think it's great to have it back. I think it was very, very successful last year and a welcome return to town, since other events, large ones like Pocock Rocks, weren't able to happen. So it was great to be able to bring this back. Board, do you have any questions of Meredith?
Well, I guess I do more, maybe Meredith or Addison County Chamber. I was approached on 4th of July, the parade time, by one of these organizers of the Better Late Than Never car show. And I guess they left on a bad terms, or what happened there? I mean, that was great when we had that down on the park, you guys on the park, and them on Sunday over there. Just what happened? We lost them to Addison County Field Days now.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak to that a little bit. My understanding of Maria's got the whole history on it is that the car club itself broke up, and they basically became two factions. And one faction, for whatever reason, didn't want to work with the chamber going forward, and the other faction did, or was not involved. And so they decided to go off on their own and create another car show separate from Bristol, the chamber, and the Harvest Festival. We had discussions with them, but they just didn't want to work with the chamber any longer, and there was no bad history that we were aware of, that created that situation. It's just that, in the 2-year absence, their club broke up, and they just decided that the remainder of the club, or whoever was left of it, decided they wanted to do something on their own.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from Meredith regarding this? Do we need a motion to accept the plan?
I'll make a motion that we accept the plan.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion the second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Everybody.
Okay. Terrific. Yep, looking forward to that coming back. Okay. All right, continuing with Meredith. Item 3, Recreation Coordinator Appointment, Freddie Cannon. Meredith.
Yeah, so Taylor and I are very excited to introduce Freddie to you all. Freddie has experience down in the Rutland area with the Boys and Girls Club, and also with programming, which we're excited about. And he should still be on here. I hope that he can pop on here.
Yeah, he's on.
Still here.
Yep, he's there
Great.
or here.
So yeah, so we are excited to have Freddie start Tuesday, September 6th. I think that's what the date was.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to see if you guys had any questions for Freddie. But yes, he'll be doing this pretty much the same as Alex. That position did 20 and 20 hours at the hub, 20 hours at the Bristol Rec. Some programming and the parks part of the rec department as well. So I know that in our conversation, he was excited about doing that. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My wife and I came up here probably in 2013. She's from the area. When I came up here, I started working at Outer Valley. And then I became the football coach. And then I also became the basketball coach then I happened to be umpire at the same exact time. They threw something else on me. And then from there, I actually started working at Barstow. I worked at Barstow in the 3rd grade for a little bit. And then from there, I linked up with the Boys and Girls Club actually. And from there, I went from opening, I helped out with the Brandon Club. And then from there, I went to Barstow, opened a brand new Barstow Club. I opened a brand new Fairhaven Club. I opened the brand new MSJ Club, the Hickory Street Club. And I'm missing one on here right now, but I was basically
quite a list.
No, we could have did better. We definitely could have did better because we should have opened more in the schools with generate, but not having the money and everything going into a lot of our money during the Boys and Girls Club was going back into the building and everything like that. So the clubs I was trying to open was giving our town more money, and it was going back into the kids with a lot more. I wish I could open a lot more, but it's just the time didn't present itself.
So what drew you to this position for the Bristol Recreation Department?
To be honest with you, I actually worked with the Bristol Hub when I worked in Brandon, and I loved everything about it. It was a gentleman there that all the kids actually welcomed my kids in, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. Then I saw the position was open. I was like, you know what? Let me try it out. I was like, let me put my name in the hat. If it works, it works. If it don't, it don't. But hey, I tried.
Okay, great. Any questions from the board for Freddie?
Freddie, I'd just like to ask what you're looking forward to in working here in Bristol.
Like I told Meredith, I want to program. I love programs. I love to do a lot of stuff. I want to bring more kids out. I want to bring a different atmosphere and everything like that as well. And I know one of my biggest things is I want to actually help out. I want to show kids is like my biggest thing going to college, showing different colleges and everything like that. Maybe doing more tours and everything around different colleges and show kids is just not Bristol, it's just not Burlington, it's just not that. We got a bigger world besides just this. So that's one of my biggest things.
Good answer.
Sounds great.
Freddie, I just got one question, and Meredith, help me with the program at Darla that is up out of the high school or the grade school that's federally funded. Is that ELP? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
How do we as a town with a town budget that you have control over with compete with the federal, the ELP program? How do we get kids to stay with us instead of going up there?
Well, that's a great question. ELP has the ability to take care of over 100 kids. ELP is in each school, so that it's Starksboro, New Haven, Bristol. So they have their after school care segments from 3 to 5, I believe. And then they also run a summer camp. In conversation with that ELP, I've asked them to, like for our mountain bike camps, the Bristol Rec is kind of more of a specialty style camp. So we've got the river camp, Clay Camp, Bike Camp, and then the Hub Adventure Camp. So we're trying to create a niche in how we can have kids want to be in our programming. They are whale in the community. They have a lot of the resources. They pay their folks quite well. It is, yeah, we're like little fish in a big pond with them.
But it's also not direct competition, like you said, because you're creating something that's not there, that ELP isn't doing. You're making it your own. I mean, I think the testament is that your camps are full and your camps are highly regarded and highly enjoyed. So,
Yeah.
I think there's room for both of those things to happen in the same space.
And it does. I mean, we've partnered with ELP. They call and say, hey, can we come over to the skate park? Because they're very respectful in the sense of the space. So that's nice. And we communicate by text. So it's actually a really good partnership. And it's nice to be able to have, they have a big available program, and it's great that they have that for the community. So, I mean, we work well together, and we are just a little bit more smaller. So, quantity is, quality over quantity.
Right.
Thanks.
If I can
Yeah.
also speak to that a little bit as well, part of ELP is fantastic and they partner with us so well. We are one of their, we sign on to their grant as their partners. So they really are motivated to make sure that we pair well together and just kind of all work together to create a more enriching experience for the youth. But also part of what the rec department offers, and in conjunction with the hub, is this deeply personal, connected relationship with the youth that we do serve and with the community members that we serve. So the ones when we run programs through the hub or the bike programs that Meredith run, and then we go out into more adult programming, but for specifically focusing on the youth, since that's what ELP does, we there's a huge portion of this this mentorship in third spaces that they don't receive in the high school. So, or in the school program, since ELP is now, while it's federally funded, it's also part of the school district now as well. So it still holds space in the school. So we offer this other community aspect to connecting with the youth and to creating these other opportunities, which can be beneficial. It's great that it's kind of a one-stop shop for ELP, and they can, parents can sign up through the schools, but then we offer, like I said, this other opportunity for youth to engage with community members in kind of a more neutral space. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor. Any other questions for Freddie before we approve his appointment?
To make a motion, we appoint Freddie as our recreation coordinator.
All right. Thank you, Joel.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries. Welcome aboard, Freddie.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. Welcome.
See you in
Thank
September.
you.
Yeah, can't wait to meet you.
Congratulations and welcome aboard.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all.
great. All right, we shall move on. 8:13. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you, Taylor.
You're welcome.
You might be interested in the next items also, if anybody
Sure.
from the Conservation Commission is present.
I don't see anyone. Usually we've been.
Yeah. Kristen's here.
Oh, she's
Okay.
here. She's
Gotta
hiding in the
have him
background. Kristen, come forth. So, item 4. I thought you would be there. I was surprised.
Yeah,
I didn't
Freddie,
see
you
her.
might be interested in these two topics.
Sure. So items 4 and 5, these are management plans for Memorial Forest Park. It's item 4. And then item 5 is we're looking at a draft for Eagle Park. All right. So wait, Kristen is there? Where is she hiding?
Once she talks, you'll get her.
Where is she?
She's beside me.
Oh, okay, great.
Searching for me.
Searching. Once we start speaking. Thank you for joining us in person, Kristen, or joining the rest of the select board in person.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got? So I know the last time we spoke about Memorial Forest Park, we've had a couple questions about that, couple changes, and you've made those. And then looking at Eagle, this is now the draft that we're going to be going through.
Correct, yeah, you saw the plan from Memorial several months ago. We just finished that up, the revisions for that, so it should be in good shape for your consideration to approve it. And Eagle Park plan is in draft form for your, and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have from that.
Okay.
Kristen, do you need me to share any screen on either of the documents?
That would be helpful because I just came off of vacation, so I'm not prepared at all. I have no paperwork, so.
Okay, so which doc, the Memorial Park first?
Yeah, it's to the select board's pleasure.
And the action would be for them to approve it if it's all in order.
Sure, yep.
Okay.
Do you remember what the changes we had were? I know that there were a few.
I reworded some issues around the in-holder, not an in-holder, but there's a driveway that proceeds to a private property. And so I think there was originally reference to a right-of-way, and I removed that reference. Michelle had a comment there. I just removed a lot of the comments off the right-hand side.
Yep.
We had some discussions about, the other main thing I did was to add in the structural, or rather the engineering design and budgetary estimate for accessibility that was performed by Alan Heisinger. And so there's a new paragraph under, I believe it would be the section that talks about existing conditions or recent history. It's maybe a few pages beyond that, Valerie.
I don't want to get folks too dizzy.
Yeah, right?
But this is really, has been, it's really well put together document.
Yeah.
Even just scrolling through it, just looks very, very well done.
Yeah, our goal was really to kind of store some of the knowledge that was in the heads of folks and in the records so that it's more accessible to the broader citizens. We're getting close to the new paragraph. Current issues, structural condition, there we go. So keep going.
There it is. Yeah, page 13.
Yeah, that second paragraph on page 13 is a new paragraph that was not in the original draft. And basically it just references that Alan performed a review, and there is a possibility to add in a loop that would be wheelchair accessible and provide access to a terrace that sits above the river so that those who are mobility challenged could at least get to that part of the park. The remainder of the park is really too steep for us to do any sort of ADA accessible trail segments.
They could get there, they just couldn't get back.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. Gravity could get them there, they just couldn't get back. So we're, as you know, we're in the process always of searching for funds, grant funds that might be able to support this kind of improvement.
Okay.
In changes to my recollection.
Okay. All right, that's great. Any questions from the board regarding these changes or anything else for this particular document?
I just want to appreciate how, or express my appreciation for how thorough the document is and how complete it is.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and we're following a template that was originally set up by Katie Riley, one of our past members. So really kudos to her.
Yeah, and it outlines the management roles and the responsibilities: Conservation Commission, Recreation Department, Select Board, Bristol Trail Network.
And the Legion has had a historical role here and in terms of creating the original park. So we included them as well.
And did the sign,
Yeah.
did the sign we did a few years ago, right?
Exactly. They redid the
Just
sign.
before the pandemic.
Yep. There it
Ta-da!
is.
There it is.
Mine.
Yep, looks terrific.
So what are the select board actions? Let's refresh ourselves here.
That's a healthy list.
There you go.
All doable, though. Okay. I guess I'd entertain a motion to approve this document, if people are willing to do that.
So moved.
All right. All right, motion and a second. Peter and Joel, any further discussion on the Memorial Park document?
Not so much on the document, or do we just, where are we at with the bridge, and do we want, where are we going, what's our goal there? To replace the bridge, obviously. But
Yeah, so the temporary bridge that you secured for us from Middlebury, Alan determined was too short to do anything in the upper. There was a plan at one point to bring the ADA accessible trail segment and cross the river up top and access some of the other side, but he determined it was too short for there. To get it down to replace the existing steel bridge would be very, very difficult. And so I think we're looking at constructing something in place. And the previous structural assessment by the engineers determined that that current bridge has about a 5-year lifespan. So again, we're always on the hunt for funding sources that would help us afford rehab or reconstruction at the current location above the chasm, but utilizing pieces that are brought in rather than some structure that's already complete and trying to get it in there. So,
because during our, was it early July or late June, select board's road trip?
yep, did
we
you go?
stopped there.
Cool.
And we had, Picker and I think Ian was with us, and a few of the ladies too, was by where we were down, not all the way to the bridge, we're up where the yellow was taped off.
Yeah.
From there, we could almost walk, if you walk almost to we go to the road out back.
Yeah.
Almost walk to that, you can almost walk to that parking lot without a lot of.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that ever been looked at too. Instead of, I know the trails, the blocks down the road, or not the blocks,
Yeah.
the logs,
Yeah.
getting pretty bad.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at maybe walking, there was a little picnic area there,
Right? Up top.
walking out that way and going out all the way to avoid all the logs.
Right?
And then you just got the stairs and the bridge to do.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
hope that bridge
think-
though is, I mean, I know it's probably still secured.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I hope we can use it somewhere in some trail park. Now,
Right? Right?
It
Exactly.
can't be used there.
I think Porter Knight in particular is aware certainly of that bridge and maybe some other possibilities for its use.
I was hoping a crane could set in the parking lot, reach up over, but
Right?
that's
It's
a long
pretty
reach and
tight.
a bigger.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a ways.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
ways.
for sure.
Yeah, I do think that a slope area, especially for wheelchair accessibility, it seems like a potential. So you could go from the parking lot, be able to go down and safely, and be able to get down at least to that first landing area.
Yeah.
Is there,
You can see
Kristen?
quite a lot there.
Yeah, that's true. Is there, so yeah, one of the things that we talked about was, a bridge over the top at that area, but you sort of lose some of the sightseeing ability of going to the lower bridge and looking back at the falls and at the water coming down. Is there a preference, Kristen, that you have versus a bridge at the top versus a bridge of where it currently is and replacing that one?
Yeah, I think the view of the falls is certainly a key focal point in the park. We still could get that though through the timber estimate. They kind of blazed a possible trail that would wrap around and go to the very base of the falls, and then you could view them You could look upstream and view them, and get much the same view as what we currently get now from the steel bridge. So that's a possibility. I mean, we're open to all kinds of possibilities in terms of future
So,
fundraising.
A
So,
newer bridge being lower than the one that's there presently is shut off. It's
right, right,
closed.
correct.
Would you,
So
would
that's where it's
you,
wider than that bridge wouldn't work that I
Right,
required.
right.
Okay, I see.
would you consider having a bridge at the top as well as refurbishing the one that's at the bottom as well, keeping it, or would you, if you, let's say you chose to go to the top just for better accessibility for everyone, would that lower bridge be completely removed then if it only has 5 years left?
I think possibly, and if we're talking about two bridges, then the cost goes up, obviously, and the fundraising gets more difficult. So certainly, that would be one of the alternatives, right? To have a different bridge up top, giving a little more accessibility for a wider range of the citizens, and then maybe removing the steel bridge once it gets to a point where it's no longer structurally safe.
Okay. Okay. And then potentially that creation of a trail further down that could look
View the
back.
falls.
Are
Yeah,
you
still.
with that particular thing? Would you be following down through the already established steps, and you'd be going off to the right and heading further down to the bottom?
Yeah, in part, the established trail would be followed up top, and then up trail from where currently there's caution tape across where the staircase used to be.
Yeah.
There's an alternative path that could go off to the right and have a gentler grade and get the person down to the base of the falls for viewing.
Okay. Terrific. All right, we have a motion and a second for this particular document. Any other further discussion?
I just have one question, and Kristen, I know you haven't landed on a plan, on a solid plan yet. It sounds like you've got some options, but do you have a budget number in mind at this point, or do you know, how much are you looking to? What do you feel capable of fundraising, I guess, is my other question.
Right, I think given my recollections are hazy, but given the typical foundation grants that are out there and sources of grants, it's in the range of 50 to 80,000. I would want to check back through my notes though, and Porter Knight as well had a couple of estimates done as well.
And I won't hold you to that. I know you're still in the planning stage, but I was just curious.
Okay. All right. Let's vote on this if there are no further questions. All those in favor, say aye, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. Motion carries for this document. Okay, and then have folks had a chance to look at the Eagle Park? Do you want to discuss that now? Would board members prefer to look at that offline and then come back to it at another meeting? I know it's a detailed document and I haven't had a chance to look at all of it yet.
Yeah, I've only been able to look at the first 10 pages. I haven't had a chance to.
Okay.
Like I said, I admire the detail.
Any questions from Peter or Joel regarding the document?
I haven't had a chance to look at it.
Okay.
I'm on vacation last week.
Do you want me to take a quick scroll, or do you want to just hold off? I don't want to get people too motion sick.
Yeah, we could do a quick look through, and then I think maybe we can bring this back at the next meeting, if that's okay with everyone and okay with Kristen. And then we'll have, and at the next meeting, we'll have comments that we can send beforehand. Why don't we plan on doing that? And then we have some feedback for you for the next meeting.
And just for orientation for folks, this is off of Lincoln Road, Eagle Park. Scrolling down, table of contents. So there's the existing conditions review.
And obviously, the biggest thing at Eagle Park is our universal fishing platform. A number of people are able to use because it is universal. You can get down to it whether you're in a wheelchair or whether you're walking or any other type of mobility issues. And we're currently the fishing platform, due to damage from various ice storms and various storms, is sort of being sheared up, as it were, to provide more strength. And I don't know, Kristen, where we're at in terms of that, or Val.
Just last week, we received an update from FEMA that our efforts for mitigation funding have been approved. It's a lower amount than what we had hoped for, and for a much scaled back project. Rather than the piers, they approved a reconstructing the concrete walkway, but with a foundation and with rebar. So Roy Schiff from SLR prepared a final design that they, I think, are in the process of reviewing. And so that's where we're at right now. We're getting approval for the mitigation funding. And then the next step is for him to put together bid specifications for the actual construction. And then I think it needs to go through permitting to get other agencies to sign off. And once they do, then it can be advertised for construction.
Okay. Are we happy with the peaker, with the rebar? I mean, I think when we went up there, we discussed as long as the platform itself was stable and re-drilled and re-secured, I don't think we had issues with the concrete walkway.
Right. No, they did support realigning the platform and redoing the bolts, and they did approve the takeaway rails. That the plan is to remove them during storm season and winter season, and set them aside and close off access, so that there's no more risk during those times of the year.
Okay.
And we just put the rails back in when it's open.
Okay. And hopefully we'll have a little bit of prior knowledge to a storm, so someone's not going up there and taking it off during a storm.
So let's take a quick look at the recommended actions by the Select Board.
I love the description of the New Haven River as a flashy river.
That it is, for sure.
Very similar to Memorial Park.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this looks great.
Yeah, we're trying to keep a consistent template for all of the parks, and so we're gonna be getting additional plans to you for the remaining parks, and they should follow this same kind of template. So,
Thanks. Thanks for that work, Kristen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great to have the photos in there too. You got some good ones of the platform use. Those look great.
yeah, it's a very popular park, actually.
It is.
It is.
You don't go by and not see people.
Yeah.
And Jerry's in there.
Sort of. In spirit.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Well, we will get our comments to you, and we will revisit this at our next meeting.
Do you want to define it as our next meeting, or when you're ready, or do you really want it to be at the next meeting?
Board's choice. I don't wish to be too gung ho.
Are you done your work, Kristen, or is there still more for you to do on it?
We're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask Kristen, to save her from keep coming back, could we hold this off until she has maybe the Sycamore Park in front of us?
Right.
And we've read that, so we can vote on both. Just so she doesn't come back for this one, and then 2 weeks later, she's got Sycamore Park ready for us. Just
Sure.
trying to save her night out.
Yeah.
We're so
I mean, unless she enjoys coming to our meetings.
Yes.
She may look forward to this.
Right. Kristen, that wouldn't hold you up in any way, would it?
No, it would not.
Okay,
No.
perfect.
Okay.
So is that the plan, to hold this off until it can be joined with the Sycamore Park plan?
Yeah.
maybe another park. She said she's working on a couple more of that one.
Yeah,
Sycamore.
that
Okay.
is the next one, Sycamore.
Okay.
Okay.
Terrific. All right. That's great. Thank you very much, Kristen. This is terrific.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. Thank you and the Conservation Commission for all your work on this.
Yeah, good.
I like seeing the old foundations filled in.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
there's kind of sagging, there's holes.
Wow. Just,
Yeah.
fill them in, bring them out, and put them out.
Yeah.
Sagebrush. That's a very popular park.
Wicked, it's a lot of people, yeah. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right. Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you, Kristen.
All right. All right. Let's move on. We're at item 6. Pump house Kohler generator installation update. Possible request for additional expenses, which I think we actually don't have.
Correct. When this was put
Good
on
news.
the agenda last week, we were under the impression that a new transformer needed to be installed at the pump house in order to accommodate the new generator and the VFDs. And that was probably it sounded like it was going to be very expensive. And we were waiting on a quote from Green Mountain Power about the cost and the timing to do that. We learned today that in fact Green Mountain Power is willing to do that at no cost to the town, but it's going to take a few weeks perhaps for them to get everything together and to schedule it with their engineers. And the end result would be an overall upgrade to the electrical system to the pump house.
So this is an upgrade to what we approved 2 weeks ago, the VFDs, right? Or you're telling me this improvement from Green Mountain Power will not need the VFDs?
No, it would be to allow the VFDs to be installed. Because right now the engineering, the electrical panel and transformer system do not meet code and are not the right, I don't know the terminology, but it's not grounded. And so Pioneer would not warranty the VFDs, and the technicians are concerned about their safety if it's not grounded. So this would be install a grounded system and overall upgrade it at no cost.
Which is probably something we would have done in the near future anyway, looking at that whole area and sort of doing cost evaluations of equipment and its future.
It probably would have needed to be done when we got around to replacing the control panel, which we've been talking about doing, but it's because of the cost and lack of materials, the supply chain problems. We've not moved forward on that, but it probably would have been necessary anyway. And this way Green Mountain Power is going to do it at no cost to the town.
That's great. Thank you very much, Green Mountain Power. I'm confused of why it wasn't grounded. That seems like a serious thing. I'm not an electrician in any way, but it seems like if a company isn't going to install something because of the potential that it could burn out and have problems because it's not grounded, that's a little bit concerning. So I'm glad that this issue was recognized and that we're going to have it fixed.
Right.
Things not being grounded when you're dealing with water is not good.
But it's been that way for 25 years and worked.
Yeah.
But it's always time to revisit things and take a look and see what needs to be updated.
Right.
But that's great. So a little bit of delay, but still on track to have those VFDs put in.
Well, as long as Brookfield Service is okay with leaving their rent-a-generator there, then we'll go for it.
Yeah, and if they are, I thank them again for their hard work and their generosity in terms of supporting us on this project.
Right.
It's the least they could do, being a year and a half late with the generator.
Oh. All right, let's move on. Number 7, consider line striping proposal from L&D safety markings for North Street bicycle lanes.
Correct. For a while, Eric and I weren't sure whether to bring this to the select board or not, but then last week finally made the decision that yes, we should get the select board's input on the proposal that we received from L&D striping. Because originally, I believe the folks had envisioned just lines up and down North Street, and the proposal that came back from L&D, I'll share my screen again. Can you see this one?
Oh yeah.
No.
There it is.
Okay. So their proposal was very detailed. I'll just quickly scroll through. You can kind of get the magnitude. I'll go back to, it starts here at Main Street. The way Eric and I left it with L&D was that we didn't feel that this turning lane, these markings were necessary for the bike lane project, and that instead it would start from Park Street or Park Place and not do this. But yet their proposal includes that, or striping anyway, plus a stop bar. And that made me wonder if this was still included in their cost proposal of over $6,000. So there's that question, whether the select board would actually think that, or want that included as a benefit of the overall project. And then the additional markings, the bike lane, the bicycle markings, and all of the arrows. I'm going in the wrong direction. The different street crossing symbols, which is what gave me kind of the idea back on Airport Drive about those different crossing symbols, whether that was an option for a crosswalk. But so again, a lot of symbols, a lot of arrows as part of their proposal. And so a question to the select board is, do you feel that those are all what you had in mind? And I can't say whether L&D included all of these because maybe it meets a particular design standard, which probably it does in some way, but it's not something that Eric and I are well familiar with. So
Well, I know originally we were just looking for the stripes, and then Eric was gonna get the
oh, right.
the stencil and stencil in the bike lane.
They've included that in their.
I know, I'm just trying to be clear.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you for that clarification. Now, which stencil? Just the bicycle symbol or the arrows too?
Everything. So the crosswalk, blocks, and the bicycle symbols on the pavement are painted. The signs themselves, that's something that we would have to get. They don't supply the signs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I gotta ask the question, so that one that says bike lane, above R3 is 17, that's gonna be a sign on a post, correct?
Correct.
Do we want that whole village street?
We've been trying to have less
Signage.
signage.
All the way
I
up through there?
honestly,
What about the one that's down by the Lawyer's Crock that says, correct me if I'm wrong here, bicycle lane, whole lane now, or?
bicycle lane use all.
Roadway
they
lane.
use whole lane.
Why isn't that just good enough for North Street? I guess I have to ask. One on the end and,
Well, the only reason it's on, I think it's on that by Loris Prairie Rock
it's going up the hill?
is because there's not enough room there to put a bike lane.
Right. Right.
Not enough room there to pass a bike.
Exactly. So the bike has the opportunity to stay in the middle of the lane if they feel more safe, so the cars don't go around them. And then once they get up on top, then they revert back to being on the side of the road.
So who put those signs in?
State did.
The state did?
Yes, when they went through and did the paving project, they put them signs up.
Right.
I'm just not sure I want one of them on every corner of it.
I don't think you need one on every corner, in my own opinion, if you got them painted in the bike lane.
Right. All the bike symbols.
Yeah.
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 I mean, to me, that's a lot of signs.
Yeah. And a lot of symbols and a lot of paint.
Has this proposal been sent to the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee?
I don't believe it has.
Okay.
Fairly recent.
I would like them to look at it before we make any decision.
Eric, do we have time? Because L&D was on a particular schedule.
I sent it to them already to get us on the schedule to get it done. I don't know how much longer you want to play around with it. If you don't want it done this year, then I can call and cancel it.
I personally, before they can get here, it's gonna be the first part of September.
My guess is
You're at
probably.
school.
Yeah.
You're at school. I personally would like to wait, if we're gonna do this, I would like to wait and not spend the $6,000 till spring and have it fresh. Those lines are not gonna be very fresh come spring.
Well, that's something that you're gonna have to do every year. It's not something that you're gonna be able to do once.
Well, that's why I'm saying, if they don't get them till the middle of September and two
So
months later, the
you-
bikes are put away, theoretically.
Then you're gonna have to do them in June, or schedule them next year in June. or
May or early May, first
July,
part of June.
well, no,
Yeah.
it would have to be after July 1st when the new fiscal year starts.
Well, use your $6,000 this year, use it in the spring, that's still
Yeah,
the
yeah,
same.
yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm saying if you did it now, or relatively soon, you wouldn't be able to do it again until after.
Right,
July.
that's what I'm saying, don't do it now. Do it in the spring. if we're gonna
Yeah,
do it.
while I support this, I am hesitant because it's $6,600 to put lines on the street that we have to paint every year. Like, that's a big chunk of money to do this. And I guess I want more information from the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee that we have about the usage of bikes on these roads. And the reason I say this, I'm not against this, but I do feel that other projects that were brought to our attention in other areas, in my mind, are more of a priority, especially Pine Street and the amount of use that gets. And we're obviously discussing that in terms of how we could stripe that and warning the public and things like that. But also there's the discussion of putting stop signs on Pine Street to be able to slow traffic down. Like, for me personally, I feel that that's more of a priority area. And I emailed this to Chris, the head of the chair of that committee, and asked for sort of his comments. But I would like them to look at it first and maybe get their opinions, because it does seem it's a lot of money, and B, as Joel said and Peter said, it's a lot of signs. Like, that's a very busy area that we're putting a lot of these signs onto, and the road markings. Like, I feel there's a lot there. And we did talk about Eric maybe handling, or the Public Works Department handling part of this. And if you take out like the painted arrows, bicycle symbols, and painted sharrow, which I guess is over the crosswalks or by the crosswalks, that's like $3,500 right there off of that. But
Yeah, we could probably get away with just putting the fog lines in. And that's gonna define the traveled portion for the vehicles.
Yeah.
They're not, just because there's a bicycle symbol there, doesn't mean the people are gonna stay out of that area.
Right.
And I really don't, the road is wide enough for 4 feet on each side, so do we really need it there?
Yeah.
Could people confuse the 4-foot widths as parking areas?
They could.
And perhaps that's why the symbols would be useful.
That's interesting.
Yeah, on street parking.
Yeah.
Well, it's only 4 feet, so they wouldn't be able to get off of without either on the curb in the first section or out on somebody's lawn in the second section.
I've seen it.
Yeah, but I think if we have some of those bicycle stencils in there, that makes it a little more clear that it's for bikes than not for parking. And I'm thinking of, I think I mentioned this last time we talked about this, but like Williston Road now has that bike lane, which again, I can't imagine riding a bike on myself, but it gets a lot of use. I've seen bikes on it almost every time I've been there. And I don't recall seeing a lot of signage other than what's on the road there, was my point.
I have a concern, Valerie, in your epistle here, it says that it's gonna go to Pine Street. That street narrows up a little bit there because it's got a curve on Fitch Avenue North and got a little bit of curve on Fitch Avenue South on the east side. And then you got the bank coming down from Jim Peabody's and there. That road's a little narrower there. I'm concerned about running it all the way to Pine Street.
You get 4 feet on each side, Joel, with a 10-foot lane.
With a 10-foot lane.
With a 10-foot travel lane, there's 4 feet on each side of the road for that. And then, of course, the more that you come down towards the light, the wider the road gets.
We got
excavator being a wider lane.
We got excavators on that end of town that have equipment trailers and stuff, and 10 feet, it's crowded for them.
Oh, I agree.
Well, they're not gonna go that close to the hopefully that close to the biker anyway. They're gonna swing over the yellow line. They can't.
Yeah.
But
They
stay in their
can't,
lane,
no.
that's
Yeah.
tight for them.
Well, you gotta be 3 feet away from the bicyclist.
Right, you got 4 feet.
Or 4 feet, whatever it is. It's up to you guys what you wanna do.
Do you have to be 4 feet away from them if they have their own lane?
The law says within 4 feet.
I believe you do. So we're not gonna gain anything by putting a 4-foot lane up through there. If they're riding on the white line, you still gotta go 4 feet over the yellow line.
Yeah. Jessica mentioned in the comments, Jessica Teets, that Jonathan Weber at Local Motion would be able to tell us what signs are needed, whether they're physical signs or sprayed signs. So I think let's share this with the bicycle committee and get their feedback, and maybe run it. They can run it through by Jonathan just to get some more feedback. I do think, it, like Jill said, we are getting late in the year, and while we do have some months left, I think I would prefer to have this more analyzed a little bit more, just to make sure that we're all on the same page with that committee and with the select board, and then potentially do it early in the better weather next year. And also think about the future in terms of if it's really going to cost us $6,600 every year to do this, because I know people are going to have concerns about that. It's a good chunk of money, and this is just one part of potentially a number of different projects that the ad hoc committee and the official committee are looking at in terms of improving the quality in the town. But we sort of have to balance those out. What is going to be the most needed in the community? And I'd love to get more bicycle travel sort of knowledge along North Street, and even the concerns of cyclists. Like, are there concerns where these lanes are going to be appropriate, or do most cyclists feel that because of the width of the road and because of travel and traffic, there aren't those concerns?
Doing with them when they get to Pine Street, we're just letting them go because the road isn't wide enough to put the stripes in. So
yeah,
I think we should be concentrating on some problem areas rather than an area where the road is wide enough so that, in my mind, it's not an issue.
Right. You did a 10-foot lane from Pine Street down. It ends up reverting back to a 3-foot bike lane on each side versus a 4-foot bike
down the Plank Road.
I didn't measure all the way. I measured down to Bill's. I measured right there, and I gave you a 3-foot lane on each side if you did a 10-foot travel lane.
It might be interested to know what the bicycle travel companies, they may say, we'd rather have a bicycle lane on East and West Street.
Yeah.
West Street.
Yeah, could.
Yeah.
I mean, my only thing with this is what you guys wanted me to do when I did it.
Or if we're not blaming you, I'm not.
No, but then you guys keep putting it off. So we put off Pine Street, and now we're putting this off.
Well, I'd rather take the time and get it right than to put the lines on the road
agree.
and not want them there.
I just wish I didn't. L&D has been, barking at the bit to get on the schedule, because I've had them give me quotes, and then I've changed the quotes to accommodate, and now now I got to go back to them and tell them, never mind.
Yeah, and I apologize for that, Eric. I think we were excited to what the ad hoc committee brought to the table and the recommendations, and I think just as time has passed and the reality and the cost, at least, and I'm speaking for me personally, not for the board itself, it's just I feel that we just need, as Peter said, we just need more thought, and we want to make sure we're doing the right thing. And I think having the official committee to be able to study that, I think is going to be our benefit. But yes, we've sort of been, unfortunately, it's you have been the brunt of this, unfortunately, because you've been dealing with this. And I apologize to you.
And that's fine. I'll just call them tomorrow and just say, as of right now, they're looking into alternatives and probably looking at next spring to be doing it, which is fine. But the only thing is with the money part of it, I told you up front that this is going to be an every year cost.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, if it's something that you guys decide you want to do, which I'm okay with, of course, it's just going to be an every year cost to the line item.
Yeah.
It's going to be budgeted every year for that paint.
Yeah. I mean, and this is just a small section of road. I mean, if we're thinking about doing Pine Street, and let's say we go ahead with that and we have a plan, that's another thing that's potentially, depending on how we stripe it and how we paint it. That's
We're
another
another
probably
$100,000 a year in line striping for bicycles.
I mean, I'm sure that's the budget for a lot of cities and larger towns. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll push 20,000 every year for line striping.
Yeah.
If you do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then your budget jumps considerably with that.
Well, perhaps one thing we can answer tonight is whether the select board wants to include this section of North Street as part of the plan, because it really has nothing to do with bicycle travel, as far as I can tell. And I believe these stripes are included in the cost estimate, because they talk about a stop bar.
Yeah, Valerie, I don't know if they are, to be honest with you, because them that are on there are what's existing on the road now. So they may have just highlighted them, to show what's on the road as of right now. And maybe they are gonna paint them to refresh them, I don't know, it didn't say in the quote, and I did send them an email asking them, but they haven't got back to me yet.
Eric, you usually do that stop bar though anyway, don't you?
Yeah, I do the stop bars, I do the hash marks if they need it.
And the 2 arrows.
Well,
And, well, I don't have an arrow stencil, so I can't do the arrows, but
It
I
says,
can do everything that's straight with our sprayer, and I do it when it needs to be done.
it says it ends there and it starts there, so.
Right, so I'm assuming they just highlighted what we already have painted in the road.
So they're starting at Park
They're
Street.
starting
going
out,
north.
yeah.
Okay.
I said,
I just want to clarify, though, so
Yeah,
that the
that's-
select board
that's
would
good.
not expect this area to be included.
and they haven't emailed me back
That's
yet,
correct.
the answer, so.
Okay.
And I do think, since we already do some of the symbols ourselves, or at least, lines and things like that, I do feel it might be beneficial for us to invest in stencils for our arrows, bicycle symbols, and the Sharrow perhaps, and have the Public Works Department do it if Eric feels that that's a viable thing for that department to do.
We can do it, it's just gonna be, well, it's gonna be more paint, I'm gonna have to buy more pails of paint, and then of course the stencils.
Yeah.
So it is doable.
Okay. I don't want to do it where it's just like, no, in terms of like our manpower and our time, it's adding too much. We need another person to be able to do this. But it seems like it's always going to be cheaper for us to be able to handle as much as we can, especially going forward. And we're thinking about implementing a lot of this, or at least some of this around town. There's always going to be stuff that we're unable to do.
Once we get the new guys up and running and trained, it should go a lot quicker.
Okay.
Stuff should start picking up in pace.
Yeah, feel free. I mean, Eric, again, I apologize for sort of like us going back and forth on this, but feel free to say it was the select board's decision to sort of to hold off on this because of questions that were raised at this meeting.
I'll call Alex tomorrow and talk to him.
Okay.
The agenda.
Okay. All right. So I guess this will be a continuing discussion. I think the next stage would just be to throw it to the bicycle committee and just get their comments on it. And maybe I'll join them in their next meeting, and I can sort of bring our discussion that we had this evening to that meeting, if that's okay with the board members.
Someone able to forward that design to them? Because Valerie also has you still have the first design, Valerie, that they sent us? Did I forward to you?
I probably do. I don't know how this one is different.
The first one is with the green.
Oh, that's right. It had green markings, green paint.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe if you could forward both designs to the committee, they could look them over.
That'd be great. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It bumped it up another $8,000.
Wait, so what? What was that?
Put the green on it
paint.
and bumped it up another $8,000. It was about $14,000.
For green
To
paint.
do it with the green.
Got my mind made up now.
So,
Interesting. Okay. All right. Great. Thanks for cluing us in on that. All right. Well, let's move on then. Let me see if I can find. Here we go. So we've got that. All right. Next item, number 8. again, talking about roads in town, consider lowering the village area speed limit to 25 miles per hour.
This is on the agenda because Joel specifically asked that it be on the agenda. And as I pointed out in my notes, that the select board can't just pass a motion and all of a sudden the speed limit is reduced to 25 miles per hour. It will require an update to the traffic ordinance. And I think I included copies in your packets and online, or at least links through the TA report. So that requires a public notice, and then whatever amendments get passed, they need to be published in the area newspaper and posted around town for 60 days. And then if there are no calls for to rescind the vote or have it voted on in a special town meeting, then it becomes effective that after 60 days of the adoption. So it's a process.
Well, doesn't come effective for 5 years, right? Because we have to get.
Well, that's the other part of the process, because we know that that no engineering study done to date has validated the reason for lowering the speed limit. That it's not supported by an engineering study, and so state statute says that if the ordinance is passed and the speed limit is lowered, then it becomes effective, enforceable after 5 years.
Right. And we've known that for a while.
And as I noted in my report, we've been talking about this for almost 5 years now.
So this 1977 public notice of the ordinance. There's Francis Heffernan. Any relation to you, Peeker?
Yeah, my father.
Fantastic. I love that. So Val says that this has to be as part of the ordinance. But if you look at this ordinance, it talks about we'll have a maximum speed limit of 35 miles per hour. And none of the speed limits in the village area are 35, they're 30. So was this ordinance changed at another time? Or was the decision made just for it to be 30?
That ordinance is a town ordinance, not a village ordinance, because he never had anything to do with the village.
And we were a village until 93.
Yeah.
And actually, Bruce corrected recently that it was reduced to 30. I haven't found the ordinance that did it though, because the signs are clearly posted 30.
Sure.
It's always been 30 within the old village limits, always, ever since I can remember.
Yeah.
And I know that I remember when they used to be 50 out Monken Road, and they changed it to 40 and then 35 on the other roads, so that they'd have the ability to stop people that were doing over 50 and ticket them, not to stop people who were doing 41 under 50. It just gave them the ability to stop them at 50 instead of letting them get to 60 before they stopped them.
So, Valerie, I'll make a motion that we propose the process of lowering the speed limit in the former village district, or police district, with the exception of east, west, and north, to 25 miles an hour.
So you're gonna leave them at 30?
Yep. Not Main, I didn't say Main, east and west, because they're state highways, and North Street, because that's a much wider street. Compare that street compared to Fitch Avenue or Elm Street or Taylor or up where Ian lives. You wouldn't want to.
And then we're gonna have to sign all those streets, whereas as it is now, it's within the limits. It's 30.
Yeah, so each street will have to.
I know,
sign
but I
each-
don't want to get involved with Route 116, East Street and West.
Why?
Do we have that as an option to not,
We do a 25.
to not,
If you notice in the parking ordinance,
I really am.
the parking ordinance is very specific on where parking spaces are allocated on very specific streets, and like 30 feet from this and 600 feet from that. And so, yeah,
I worked on that when he was chief. we brought that to him when I first got on the board about the parking was how to give out tickets or not tickets. And we said, we really needed to clean that up. I do
Right.
remember when I first got on the board about that.
So in other words, the speed limit ordinance can be similar if you want to specify certain areas of the streets to be 25, but they would need to release
I don't think we want any exceptions to 25. I think when you come by where the sign says 30 now, it should say 25.
I'm not opposed to it. I just thought, didn't want to get in the big hassle with the wider street being east and west being 116. Whether everyone say, no, you don't have any authority over that. They don't give us, we're kind of like the.
Everywhere else posted. I mean, there are a lot of places where the speed limit is 25 that it doesn't make any sense at all. And it makes perfect sense through our, through our community.
So do we in fact have to pose this as an ordinance change, or because that ordinance is so old and it was two different parts of town that we can just make a motion as a select board? Or do we really have to do the ordinance as Val has stated?
It needs to be in an ordinance, and perhaps Bruce can clarify on this, and perhaps Sharon might have come across a more current ordinance that I have not found yet that we can work with. But this is the most current one that I have.
Bruce, any thoughts on this?
On the current 30?
The ordinance.
The ordinance, yes, I will forward the copy that indicates where it's 30 miles an hour. We have to have it for court when we go to traffic. But there is one that exists for the village, or the former village, that's 30 miles an hour. I would prefer we drop it to 25, the entire.
So then I could make the motion that I proposed, propose lowering the speed limit in the former
village
or police district to 25 miles an hour.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. So we have a motion for that from Joel.
I'm going to do a quick search of my email because Bruce just triggered a recollection. He might have actually forwarded that to me somewhat recently and I lost track of it.
Can we continue with the motion, or?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to update the ordinance for the former village area, the police district, to reduce the speed from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour. Any further discussion on this? And now, Val, if you have questions or comments.
When do I need to get the signs?
You got at least 60 days.
60 days. I think I actually got
be a public hearing.
Okay.
Public
Do
hearing.
they have to say like 25 within the
Except
limit?
posted.
Or does it just need to say 25?
I think.
I got ones that say 25 now.
I think they have
I
to
think
say,
those could be at various places, but the ones, I think
Entering.
the four entrances you want.
That say within the limits or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Okay.
within the village limits, 25 unless,
Well, I can't say village.
or village, it can't say, 25 unless otherwise posted, because you've got a 40 on Moncton Road, you've got a 35 or 40 on Hewitt Road, you've got a 35 on
Plank Road.
Plank and North, or excuse me, Lower Notch Road. So
25
I think they have to say with the except, where otherwise posted.
Okay, I mean, I think we have very good support for this. I know that multiple select board members support it. I know a lot of people I've talked to in the community support it. I know that Bruce supports it. A question for Bruce, and maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't. So the one issue that we've always talked about is the ability, as Joel had stated, to change the speed on the state roads, but even though the state roads become our roads as we come into town. Is there an issue with that by just putting a blanket 25 in the whole area? Does the state come in and talk to us about that, or do we just wait the 5 years for it to officially change?
One way to find out.
You've changed it to 30, so I'm assuming
Right, that's true.
down to 25 is.
Okay.
Well, we don't know.
It will not be enforceable until the 5 years is up.
But
we don't know
Bruce, go on, Joel. Sorry.
We don't know in 77 that they might have had an engineer study that said, we recommend 30. So then it didn't have to wait to 5 years.
That was the select board.
Yeah, the one that he was talking about.
That was the
We
select
didn't
board,
need an
that was,
engineer then.
and, well, what I'm saying is that was the select board and not the trustees. You had both bodies at that time. The select board had no jurisdiction over the village.
And Francis was on a select board member,
Yeah,
not.
He was never a trustee.
No, I realize that. What I'm saying is, in 77, they made it change it from 35 to 30 because they had maybe they had an engineer study, I doubt it.
They didn't,
have to have an engineer.
the one that he read had nothing to do with the village.
Because we had an engineering study and they said, well, they don't recommend, or they, not recommend, we don't want a 25-mile-an-hour zone.
That's true, and that's why I was sort of raising that. But I guess we just lower it. So the question, Peter, I have for you, maybe you know. So if the 1977 ordinance isn't for the village area,
Correct.
but if it's for the town, that this has also changed because it isn't 30. Oh no, maybe it is 35. No, it's all 40 coming into town, right?
On Moncton Road is 40.
Yeah,
But
it's
all
40.
the other,
Isn't it 40 on Hewitt as well, or is it all 35?
it's all 35 except for Burpee and Moncton.
Burpee and Moncton are 40.
Okay, interesting. All right, so you're right. It is for the town, and so is there a document that speaks specifically to the village, or what was the village?
I just found a document,
Ooh.
but you'll be surprised when I share it with you.
It's 70 miles an hour in the village.
No, it's 1957.
Good
So-
year. Good year.
Can you see this one?
Aw.
Wow. Okay. So it's Village of Bristol. Okay,
Yeah.
and there are the trustees, and there it is. So that's great. Speed limit.
30, it was done in 57, not.
Wow.
But then it was increased to 35 in 1977.
No, because it's different.
Oh,
That
yeah.
particular document
road.
isn't talking about the village. There were two different things.
That was a town. They were entirely separate.
See, I see.
Right.
Got it.
So when would this new signage go up? How does that happen?
After the 60 days,
After this-
and it becomes, the ordinance is in effect. Whether it's
Okay.
enforceable is another question,
Okay.
but it'd be in effect.
Valerie, after the 60 days of the vote tonight, or it's 60 days after the public hearings and
I think Eric's suggestion is a good one. We've been at it this long. I think putting it on as a clear public notice to people as a hearing and soliciting public comment would be a good idea. And then we'll have this document and it'll be, the proposal will be to specifically amend a specific document.
Can you go down a little bit further? I see Fred Jackman there. I want to know who the others were.
George Smith. And
George Smith and.
Oh, Sergeant.
No, it's not
Sewell.
George.
That's a good name. Suel. Sewell.
It's not, that's Wilfred Smith. That was hacked.
So he was the manager, but was he
No.
the manager for the village too?
He was, but not that time, not 57, jerk.
Well, that wasn't.
Was he on the,
He was village trustee.
he was a trustee? There was 3 of them. Yeah.
3 of them.
Where did you find that document, Val? Like, how did you get that?
Well, I had it in my ordinances folder, but apparently I overlooked it because it was dated 1957. And I thought, nah, that couldn't be right.
And this is probably from the vault, right?
Ultimately, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you could send that to the select board, that'd be great, just so we have a copy of that ourselves.
Yep. And
Fantastic.
do you agree that at the next meeting we'll have an actual public hearing on this amendment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the way we have to proceed. If this is an ordinance that we're updating and
Right.
it's been in place since 1957,
Right.
and we need to update it, then that's the way we update it. And I
Okay.
think Joel's proposal is sound, and we'll just vote on beginning that process.
I wouldn't mind having 2 public hearings just during a selectman meeting. Draft it twice, the next one and then one in the early September meeting. And then we cover all our bases to know we did it twice.
Okay. It's a good
They
idea.
responded.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. All right, so we had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye, raise your hand. Aye. All those against, nay. Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
All right, it's a bit of work,
You
but
read that, A person who violates a special regulation as to the operation of driving a motor vehicle shall be fined or imprisoned according to this section.
Dang.
Wow.
They did that.
They were tough back in 57. How big is our jail?
Two.
I, from Madison County Regional Planning is, could we check with the state? Do we have the authorization to change 116?
Class one, you have the class one highway, and it's supposed to be a joint effort between you and the state, so I think I can't be sure. I think you might, but.
Who do we contact?
The sign you get there says state highway and.
Right.
Yeah. Class one portion, you should.
It's our road.
It actually acts.
Our road until we want to do something with it.
No, I know. Yeah. Well, like, I guess, like you said, I think we just find out. We want to do this. We've been wanting to do
We
this for a
change
long
the signs and
time.
wait for them to come and tell us we can't.
Yes.
Ashley Atkins is your district tech. Ian Digute is the guy who kind of handles all that stuff. But I suspect they're going to say class one. It's up to you.
Okay.
One thing is if you're changing the limit by more than 10 miles an hour, they do suggest you have some warning signs in advance.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You might be
We'll do it a
surprised.
mile at a time.
Go ahead,
You might be surprised to know that Bristol actually has an ordinance regulating local enforcement of speed limit on state highways. And I think I might have included a link to that in your notes or in the note.
Yeah.
But
All right.
That's the one. Remember when I questioned whether we got the ticket money for writing tickets on state highways? Because of that ordinance. That's when Bruce brought it to us, because of that ordinance, we do.
East Street, we know someone 16, we get the money.
But East Street is considered a local road.
Huh. Okay.
And North 116, once you get past Rockydale, that's state, so it's local basic rule. The 40 is still going to be a local.
So if you write a ticket and you're patrolling Polar Slack somewhere,
That's a local basic rule.
that money comes to us or them?
I guess more of it comes to you. I don't focus on the money.
Oh, no, I know, I don't mean, is that what that rule is?
Yes,
Is that
the
what that?
rule is supposed to be, the local basic rules more is supposed to come to the town.
We get money. If he writes a ticket there, we get money. It's not like we get left in the.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and that's that document that I was talking about. So essentially, if it goes through and hopefully gets approved or gets voted on, it will be going from like a 40 mile an hour as we're coming in from Rockydale. It's going to go from 40 to 25 as we get into the top there. So that's the start of our
Route 3 in Proctor Village goes from 50 to 25, just like that.
The recommendation that you.
Route 7 in Wallingford goes just like that, and down to 25, and the constable sits right there, let me tell you.
Right.
16, when you go north 116,
But they're 30.
Goes from 50 to 40 to 30. I mean, within 100 feet, 200 feet, and just, the signs are up. It just drops quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you for asking that to be put on the agenda, Joel. I appreciate that. I've been wanting to tackle that for a while, so I think this is great to be able to start that process. And hopefully it won't take 5 years for us to do it.
no, we're on a roll now.
Good. That's great. All right, let's move on then. Number 9, American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA, the funding update.
Well, as I mentioned in my notes, things are in full swing among the committee members to solicit public input through a survey, through postcards, through one-on-one contacts, and they're really getting into gear for free spaghetti dinner on September 8th at the school. A lot of the details are falling into place. You're going to see a lot of advertising coming out about it. So that's going to be an interesting way to get public feedback. The postcards are bringing in a lot of interesting input. Porter Knight volunteered to go through all of the responses from all of the sources and kind of compile them in some way that we can put it together. I thought she might be here tonight to provide a little bit more backup, but that's pretty much it at this point. Oh, the other thing that they began to do is criteria. Okay, so we've got all this public feedback. What criteria are the committee going to use to funnel the suggestions down into something that they can bring forward to the select board as a recommendation. So they've begun to think about it, and they're going to be continuing that at their next meeting. They're taking, I believe they're taking August off, but no, I think it's later in the month in August. It's not the first, or in September. It's not the first meeting of September because of the holiday.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you very much, Val. Item 9.1, I guess, meeting minutes approval. What do we have? We have June 13th, is that correct?
Just June 13th that was out this morning.
Okay. Have people had a chance to look at that? Darla or Peter or Joel?
No.
Okay. We've had comments. Darla, did you look at that? I can't remember.
I just the beginning of it. I didn't have a chance to look at all of it.
Okay. Do we feel comfortable approving it? Do we want to wait until next week or next meeting? Sorry.
So wait.
It's got my edits and Michelle's.
Make a motion to approve the June the 13th minutes.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
All those against, nay.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries. Okay. Number 10. Authorize accounts payable warrant. Any liquor licenses? Warrant was, what was the warrant, Sharon? You bumped it up a little bit.
Yeah, the warrant's 89,843.75. I've got it here for people to sign. I
Okay.
bumped it up because we got the radios for the police department and it's a grant. And if we wait 2 weeks, it'll be a month or so before we get reimbursed. So
Yeah.
I went ahead and added it.
Terrific. Any liquor licenses?
It looks like there was supposed to be an event tonight at the park, but they canceled it because of rain. And I just got at 7:15, one of those special events from the people that have been doing it to do it next Monday. It's the only thing I have.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Select board roundtable. Darla.
I do not have anything for this evening.
Okay. Speaker.
I'm good.
Joel.
Yeah, I just I stopped and checked that tree out. Kevin Hansen did the trimming. Doesn't look too bad. You pull up the stop bar, you can look to the north past his driveway. So I thought that was a good start.
Excellent.
He did leave the things out there, and I talked with Eric, and Eric said they'll stop, pick the brush up.
They're out there?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get
And
them.
then,
I'll get them tomorrow.
Across the road from there, Eric,
Where are we now? Spring Street?
no, we're on Pleasant Street. If you stopped at the start bar, if you look right over your back window, that tree right there in the green space is all dead, that little maple right there. I don't know if there was any concern of that or.
No, that one there I'm taking down this year.
Okay, and that's all I had.
Okay, great. And I don't have anything. All right.
Where are these trees located?
Pleasant Street.
Pleasant Street,
Oh,
about
Pleasant
100
Street.
feet, 100 feet on the south side of Pleasant, about 100 feet west of north.
Got it.
Okay. Item 12, town administrator's report. Val, anything to add to your report?
Nothing to add. It's been a busy time, but what I do want to mention that related to Department Head Roundtable, Brett emailed us a written report of his update. In the past, Ian had read it. It was copied to Ian and me by email right at 7 o'clock. So how you might want to incorporate that into the discussion. Maybe Ian would want to read it, or
Can we just include it in materials?
Yep, the appendage.
And add a link to it into
Yep.
the minutes?
Yeah.
Or paraphrase it?
I'll forward it. I think we'll forward it to all the select board members so you're aware of what he intended to report.
Okay. Yeah, and if we can put it on the town website, then people who are interested have the details there.
We'll append it to the minutes.
Okay. All right. Anything else from your report, Val?
Nothing new to add.
Okay. Other business, correspondence reports, correspondence received. Anything to add there?
Just highlighting the kudos to Meredith and the rec department for all the programming, and also feedback from Aegis Renewables regarding the final cleanup at the solar site.
Right.
and the trash removal.
Right. So they got a little bit more to go, and then that project will be done. And people who have the solar, we received an email saying that they're aware of some of the panels were hit, and they're in communications with the school to potentially put up higher netting. They were talking about, it was really interesting. It's the way that it's a very analytical way of looking at it. It was like a certain percentage of like really good hitters or really good pitchers or something. That was the cause for the balls to go over. I love the way that they phrased it.
Very strengths based.
They're looking at the panels, and then they're looking at the production of the panels, even though they have been hit. And so we're waiting to hear back. So, and I don't know how they determine whose panels got hit and whose didn't get hit. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, I guess they're looking into that to hopefully prevent future balls from hitting very expensive solar panels.
Are these tennis balls, golf balls, baseballs?
Probably baseballs, potentially softballs, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Probably baseballs. The softball.
Enough of a ball to break the panel or to crack it. So,
Yeah, it must be baseball.
yeah.
It was baseball field.
Yeah.
Just Ian and Darla, there's pay orders here from July 12th through the 22nd. There's 4 of them here, different pay orders that still need your guys' signature.
Oh, I haven't signed this? Oh, I missed. I signed stuff a week ago. Or 2 weeks ago. Okay.
I'll try to come down tomorrow. I will be there tomorrow, so I can sign.
Missed those. All right.
Anyway, so.
Super. Thank you. Do we have executive session tonight, Val?
Well, without Michelle here, the purpose of the executive session was to continue discussion of the police union proposed contract.
Oh, yes.
And Michelle has been an active participant in those discussions. And I feel a little uncomfortable proceeding without her involvement, if we can.
Thank you.
All right. Then I guess.
Unless Bruce has another, has a different approach.
I can put my motion back.
He didn't get a second. He just seemed to be done here too.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know if
All right. Well,
Adjourn.
we'll revisit that at the next meeting.
Okay.
All right. No executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Joel made it, I seconded.
Already done. All right. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
All those against? Motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely week. Stay out of the heat.
I don't take those.